Cristiano Ronaldo made history with a massive landmark goal for Manchester United. Important not only for the result, but also an incredible achievement for the guy. We'll get to that later, of course. Welcome to the weekend recap, fellas. I'm Adrian. Let's run through the top 4 leagues here, starting with La Liga. It sounded like I said weekend recap. That's fine. The second half of Osasuna versus Valencia, my friend. Now that was wild. If you didn't catch it, understandable, unless you're a big La Liga head or a supporter of one of these teams. Catch the highlights though. So it ended 2-1 Valencia, but we saw 2 reds in the second half, both for Osasuna, and one of which was really late in the match. And we saw 2 missed penalties, one apiece. I mean, Diakabi got his marching orders when he was on the bench in the first half. It was an ill-tempered affair, but another positive result for Mr. Gattuso. 2 wins and a draw from their last 3 matches. That's pretty good for Valencia. It's nice to see. Rayo Vallecano's form is the definition of checkered. They lost 3-1 away to Almeria. The newly promoted side absolutely blitzing Vallecano with 3 unanswered goals in a half-hour stretch in that first half. Fresh off of their somewhat surprising loss away to Club Brugge in the Champions League, Atletico Madrid were able to bounce back at home against Girona. Angel Correa seems to have a purple patch for Atletico now and again. Last season, there were times where he was the most bountiful attacker, man. He scored a brace in this match to lift Atleti above Girona. Speaking of lifting, the way Griezmann lifted the ball to the back post for Correa to attack, that was just a stunning pass from the Frenchman, who has been integral to Atleti even with his, well, previously limited minutes. That's finally been sorted out now between Atleti and Barcelona, much to the delight of Simeone, I'm sure. For the second goal, Girona's keeper Juan Carlos channeled his inner Antonio Adan, a gift from him to Correa, and a gift to Atleti as well. That could have been bad. Jorge Sampaoli is back at Sevilla after his brief 1-year spell with them previously, and he kicked it all off with a yellow card for himself for arguing with the referee. But in the 4th minute, Oliver latched onto the ball in the box to roll it past the keeper, and my goodness, the noise in the Sanchez Pizjuan was ridiculous. Something to scream about for the fans, finally, as it must feel like a fresh start for them, but ultimately, Athletic Club equalized in the second half with a banger from outside of the box from Vesga. 1-1 the final, Athletic just falling short of getting 4 wins on the trot. They certainly came close in that second half. The pressure was on Sevilla. Real Madrid will have felt frustrated by VAR taking away both a goal for Rodrigo and a penalty for Vinicius. God, those boys are trouble, aren't they? What a nightmare to have to face them both. Luka Modric did indeed provide a nice delivery to Eder Militão in the first half, in-swinging corner to the near post that the Brazilian flicked past Soria, and that was the decisive goal. Real looking a bit different currently, just getting 1 goal wins for the most part as they have dealt with the absence of Benzema, but the win is the most important part, right? After a great win against Roma Thursday, Betis were held by Real Valladolid, and Sociedad versus Villarreal was a match I was looking forward to, and you can always trust Real Sociedad to win 1-0, can't you? They got the win thanks to a great ball from Merino to Brais Mendes in the 33rd minute, and that was enough to sink the Yellow Submarine. And now to Editor Adrian for the Barca result and the scores and standings. Let's go, Editor Adrian. Hello, yes, Barcelona had a difficult match against Celta Vigo. I mean, that back line was looking a little bit shaky, man. Look at that. Balde, Piqué, Alonso, and Jordi Alba. But I mean, they got the win in the end. They did get there in the end. Pedri with the goal for them. But that second half was spooky. Celta coming close on a few occasions, but doesn't matter for Barcelona. They're still the leaders at the top on goal difference ahead of Real Madrid, with Athletic Club and Atletico just behind them. Well, they have about a 5-point difference between themselves and Athletic, so they're doing quite well still. Werder Bremen are on fire at the moment, and once again the man at the center of their win this week over Hoffenheim was none other than Niklas Füllkrug. The German forward has previously bounced around clubs like Greuther Fürth, FC Nuremberg, and Hannover 96, but since returning to Werder Bremen, he has been magnificent and rightfully is starting to get the plaudits he deserves. He got an assist for Werder's opener and converted what was the match-winning penalty later. From 9 Bundesliga matches, he has 8 goals and 2 assists. One to keep an eye on, fellas. RB Leipzig required a goal from who else but Christopher Nkunku to rescue a draw away to Mainz. Marco Rosa's start is a bit topsy-turvy, which is kind of par for the course with Leipzig's form this season overall, but overall, moving in the right direction, it feels like. Speaking of, Leverkusen stopped their skid as they bounced back from 2 losses consecutively across all competitions with a 4-0 victory against Schalke, of course. The Gelsenkirchen side have struggled upon their return to the Bundesliga, which comes as no surprise, really. And Leverkusen, well, they needed this win just as much as Schalke did. They were actually below Schalke in the table prior to this win for Xabi Alonso's side. One match, one win for their new manager. The Bundesliga is weird, man, and one of the teams that I find to be the strangest to follow is Eintracht Frankfurt. They just smack of inconsistency, such as their 3-0 loss away to VfL Bochum, of all teams, a side that had just 1 point from their opening 8 matches. I just don't understand that. To be fair, what I said about their inconsistency was mostly harkening back to last season, so perhaps I'm being a bit unfair to them this season, as they were mixing it up with the top teams. That makes this loss all the more confusing, though. But hey, remember last season when Bochum beat Bayern? I guess they have it in them still. Speaking of Bayern, Der Klassiker, of course, went down this weekend, and with no Robert Lewandowski to punish Borussia Dortmund, as he did so many times previously, 27 goals in 26 games against Borussia Dortmund. That is crazy. More goals against them than any other club, by the way. They will be happy he's gone, while Bayern are probably wishing they had him for this match in particular, at least. Or at least at the end of the match, they may have been thinking that as a difference maker, as it was all going so well for them. Bayern had a 2-0 lead after goals from Goretzka and Sané. The man's on fire, and respect to Musiala for the assist as well. 4 assists in 3 matches running for the young man, but from there, Dortmund pulled a goal back with Youssoufa Moukoko getting his 3rd of the season. A man for the big occasion, clearly, after getting a goal in the Revier Derby, and now Der Klassiker. That's huge for him. And the difference maker was Anthony Modeste in the attack for Dortmund, finally having a big impact out there as he set up Moukoko and then equalized for Dortmund in the 95th minute. Huge respect to Schlotterbeck for his great work on the ball in setting up Modeste in the 95th. Kept it in, then bent across to the back post. Modeste needed that goal after spurning a great opportunity in the 83rd minute. Great cross from Adeyemi, and he missed it, man. A lot of talk about whether Bellingham should have been on the pitch or not, exacerbated by Oliver Kahn complaining on Twitter about how Kingsley Coman didn't get the same patience Bellingham did in this match, as Coman was sent off by the ref. I mean, I'm undecided on the high boot on Davies. Of course, I'm sad for Davies. He seems to be okay, but has a bruised skull and will need time to recover with the World Cup about a month away. But that high boot, I guess I could understand if the referee had given it, you know? I guess overall I'm indifferent. 2-2 for this match. Freiburg had the chance to put a ton of pressure on Union if they defeated Hertha on Sunday afternoon, but they required a 78th minute equalizer from Kevin Schade to get a 2-2 draw, meaning it was all eyes on Union as they went away to Stuttgart. And they won, meaning Union are the outright leaders at the top of the table now with 20 points, 2 ahead of Freiburg and 4 ahead of both Dortmund and Bayern. Long may it continue. Well, Andre Onana has received 2 starts in a row for the first time in his Inter career, as he was in goal ahead of Andanovic this weekend against Sassuolo. He was tested 3 times and made 2 saves as Inter won 2-1 away against Dionisi's side. Acerbi was back in defense again, as Inzaghi has some sorting out to do in defense. Meanwhile, Edin Dzeko's decent form continued. Well, he had a goal disallowed last weekend, I guess. He didn't actually score himself, but at least his finishing has been on. He got a brace against Sassuolo. Udinese and Atalanta drew 2-2, and this was certainly a great matchup. Udinese has been a great story so far this season, as they are thriving at the moment, as they snatch results against difficult opponents time and time again. Meanwhile, Atalanta have lost more and more players, as they typically do. They've changed their play style quite a bit, as they're no longer the 6-4 win boys as they used to be. But to Gasperini and their credit, they are getting great results. 2-2 was an ideal scoreline for everyone else who is near the top of the table, as these two sides are, Udinese versus Atalanta was 2nd versus 3rd after all, and it was especially beneficial to a team like AC Milan, who faced Juve at the San Siro. That's how you pronounce it, right? Let's ask The Rock, just to make sure.
San Siro.
Oh my bad, the San Siro. Anyways, AC Milan were not a bunch of zeros in this match, as through an injury crisis where they don't have their natural right wingers or preferred right back in Calabria, nor their preferred shot stopper in Mike Maignan, they dealt with Juventus incredibly well. Olivier Giroud put in another masterclass in being a target man and playing for the team rather than himself, while Fikayo Tomori contributed a goal and was a leader in the back line despite having to partner Matteo Gabbia. By the way, what I said about not having their preferred right back, at least that's Kalulu's natural position, even if he has been moonlighting as a center back of late. Tomori's goal came from a Giroud strike that was right at his stomach, but he controlled it, swiveled, and smashed it past Szczesny. The second goal for Milan came from a brilliant pass from Vlahovic to Brahim Diaz, and the little Spaniard split through Juve's backline and converted for 2-0. More issues for Juve as they met a decent side and they lose. That's the story of their season so far under Allegri. After facing Maccabi Haifa midweek, they have the Turin derby. Failure to win there feels like it should raise many more questions about his future, but who knows? They seem to be committed to keeping him around in spite of results. It was a frustrating match for Napoli supporters as they went away to 19th place Cremonese, and as of the 75th minute, they were locked in a draw. Napoli looked a bit tired naturally as the squad looked like it needed some rotating. Saw the same of Benfica of late, but thankfully Roger mixed it up this past weekend. That needs to happen with Napoli, it feels as well. But in the end, Simeone converted what was the winner. Lovely ball to the back post, and he powered that header into the ground and past the keeper. Then Kvara and Lozano linked for a stunning counterattack, an assist for Kvaradonna, and fourth added by Matias Oliveira late. The third and fourth goals were scored in the 93rd and 95th minute respectively. Salernitana beat Hellas Verona 2-1 as they are climbing the standings well. Speaking of, editor Adrian has the Roma result and the scores and standings for you. Poor Lecce. After going behind in the 6th minute from a Smaldini goal, Morten Hjulmand got himself a red card, which, I mean, I can't say poor him for that. He deserved it, right? But they did pull one back for what would have been an incredible draw. It was 1-1 in the 39th minute, but just after the half, Paulo Dybala converted a penalty and injured himself in the process, which is just very Dybala, isn't it? He was doing so well, he looked so healthy for so long, but then the injuries, the little niggling injuries started to creep up on him, so he's going to be out, unfortunately, for Roma and himself. But in Italy, it's still Napoli at the top. They now have a 2-point lead over Atalanta. Udinese are right there on 20 points, Milan on 20 points, Roma on 19 points, and then Lazio, Inter, Juve, etc., etc., etc. Arsenal versus Liverpool, what a match. Liverpool still clearly have issues in defense as they looked quite pedestrian once again, and in midfield, they look poor. And yes, they conceded twice from the right side in the first half. Take from that what you will. The problems persist on that side. Meanwhile, for Arsenal, Gabriel Martinelli is looking like a massive problem down the left. So incredibly fast, so incredibly difficult on the ball as he can beat you on the inside or outside. He got the first goal after just a few minutes. Great ball from Odegaard. Nice little finish there from Martinelli. Like I said in the Champions League review, Darwin Núñez will start to score goals because he's arriving in the right positions, and playing alongside someone like Lucho Diaz in the attack will mean that he'll get great service. And that he did, and he managed to finish cleanly past Ramsdale to make it 1-1. Before the half was up, however, Diaz was replaced by Firmino, and Saka made it 2-1 Arsenal with another great attack down the left for Arsenal/Liverpool's right. The back and forth nature of this game saw Firmino finish cleanly past Ramsdale in the second half, only for Saka to get the winner from the penalty spot. Gabriel Jesus getting kicked there. Deserved win for Arsenal as they had Liverpool pinned back for long stretches, 3-2 the final. Leicester City fumbled it all once again, and my goodness, has Ward ever been poor in goal this season. They lost Kasper Schmeichel, only for the Dane to go to Nice and have attitude problems apparently. Unfortunate for Leicester. Ward, he ain't it, but who knows, maybe Schmeichel will return in January. The Foxes actually led away to Bournemouth as Daka put them ahead, but in a span of just 3 minutes in the second half, Bournemouth turned the match completely on its head to get a 2-1 win. Leicester with 4 points from 9 matches, that is horrendous. Chelsea took on the managerless Wolves, and Graham Potter's side eased to a 3-0 win. This match against a side that's struggling so much provided Potter with an opportunity to rotate his side a little bit and give some players some much needed playing time. Mason Mount put in a great performance, not that he needed playing time of course, but he got 2 assists as he set up both Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic, 2 guys who needed goals. On top of that, a goal from Armando Broja off of the bench. I mean, it was a good day for Chelsea all around. City slapped Southampton 4-0, and yes, of course, Erling Haaland got a goal, as did Cancelo, Foden, and Mahrez. Cancelo with a goal and an assist, by the way. Newcastle United absolutely destroyed Brentford this week, 5-1. The score there. Bruno Guimaraes with a brace, Murphy and Almiron with the others for Newcastle, and then Pinnock with an own goal late. The last thing you want when you're already 4-1 down and wanting to get the hell out of there. Spurs beat Brighton in the battle of the Italian managers, with Son supplying Kane for the goal. classic duo. Their success together continues. Handballs were a bit strange in the Prem this weekend as there were more inconsistencies. First, in West Ham's win against Fulham, Antonio handed the ball forward before finishing to make it 3-1 late. Also, shout out Skamaka for his brilliant goal that he lifted up and over the keeper. It was a very, very classy finish. Then in Manchester United's match, Rashford had a goal called back for the ball coming into contact with his hand as he dribbled toward goal and rode a tackle. So Antonio's, a more obvious handball, counted, but Rashford's didn't. But I thought there was also a rule where if the ball deflects off of a piece of your own body and then hits your hand, it's not a handball, as it's an unpredictable deflection. Does that not apply for Rashford, or is it no longer a rule and all of us just have no idea what the handball rule is anymore these days? I mean, my goodness. Maybe that rule is cancelled out by the fact that there's this new rule where a handball of any kind by a forward, by the man who handles the ball in the build-up to a goal, if he is the goal scorer, it doesn't count? I don't know. Anyway, history was made in this match as Cristiano Ronaldo had a tidy finish past Pickford. He looked good there. And that was his 700th goal at the club level. That is just an insane number of goals to score in a career, man. Massive achievement, so congrats to Cristiano Ronaldo. Antony scored the other goal with a great assist from Martial. Those two looking good. Unfortunate for Martial to go off injured as soon as he starts putting in some great performances. 2-1 United. It was very scary at the end, but they held on. And looking at the table here, Arsenal leads City by a single point, while Tottenham, Chelsea, and United make up the top 5 with Newcastle and Brighton not far off. And that will do it for today, my friends. I will have plenty of content for you this week. A nice little video on Jurgen Klopp, some Champions League coverage, who knows? Perhaps a watch along if I can find the time. I hope to see you in the comment section regardless, guys, and thanks for watching. Ciao.